Hello, friend. In this episode, I'm going to talk about dealing with death, perceived death, right? Dealing with consciousness leaving a physical body. And you can relate this to a pet. You can relate this to a loved one, a family member. And what inspired this one actually was where I live. It's starting to get a little bit colder, and we have some different types of bugs in our house, and sometimes we'll take them outside, but now it's getting cold, and I don't want to. I'm fine with them being in the house. It's not like we have a whole bunch of bugs in the house. But now that it's getting colder outside, I see that they're starting to die. And one just walked by me on the floor. And his wings were out, and you could tell he wasn't living his best life at the moment. And an idea that I had was, is this the right place for ending his life, kind of, so to speak? And I've never thought that before. And I went inside and asked Spirit, because I was like, I guess my compassion for this fly was, do I fast forward his exit? That was my consideration. And what Spirit actually gave to me instead was, put him in your hand and just do energy healing. Just project love to him, right? Like when I'm seeing him as unwhole, and I'm seeing him as ill, or seeing him as not living his best life in this moment, that's my carnal perspective, my carnal perception. So it's a moment of humility for me as well, vulnerability as well, just to share it, because hopefully some of you picked up the fact that I can just be that. That's, as an energy healer, that's what you're intending to be all the time, anyways. And Spirit was the one that straightened me out and said, no. Just go to that vibration. It's no different than any other healing. And the blessing would be, if that fly was to exit his physicality, or their physicality, they're immersed in the energy of love. What a blessing that would be. What a blessing that would be. Picture yourself at the end of your physical incarnation, and maybe struggling or suffering physically, and just imagine the power of somebody just emanating and projecting and immersing you in the energy of love. How much value would that be? You're about to meet the supreme love, but until you're out of it, you're still kind of influenced by the carnal interpretation, and the carnal, that being the body as well, right? So it's just such a beautiful reminder. I had that moment of unmindfulness, that moment of carnalness where I misinterpreted what was going on, and I misinterpreted a solution. And Spirit was a reminder saying, just be love. Just be love. And it's funny, I tipped the chair on the back, and he wasn't moving very fast when he went under the chair a couple minutes ago, and when I tipped this big chair that we have in our living room over on his back, he was nowhere to be found. So may God's will be done. Maybe he was I'll trust that God's got the plan for him figured out, or he knows what he's doing. But I got the message anyways, and I could still intend love towards them, and I already have. And I'll continue to do so, but it's an important lesson. Some of you might not have even ever considered such an idea. Because when we have a loved one transitioning, we might be so self-absorbed that we don't consider the energy that we're projecting onto the other people. We might actually be hindering them energetically. We might be draining their vibration. We might be pulling their vibration down even further while they're going in their time of need. You know what I mean? We might be energetically making it about us rather than considerately making it about them and doing the best we can for them energetically, vibrationally. Spirit's reminding me of the story of the idea of, if you take your dog to the vet and you find out your dog has some severe diagnosis, and now every time you pet your dog, you've got this energy in mind where it's like, oh, poor Fluffy. What kind of energy are you projecting onto poor Fluffy, right? Like, woe is me, and worry, and feeling sad and all that type of stuff. That's not going to energetically raise his vibration. That's not going to energetically replenish and nourish them. That's the opposite of what they require. They need the high vibration. They need the energetic nurturance. May God's will be done. Maybe God's will is that they do leave the body. But regardless, we can be influential with our own energy and projecting and emanating that love for them to receive it and transform at least their mind in those moments. Maybe that's what's required to bring that peace that they wouldn't have had otherwise. You know what I mean? What a blessing. What a blessing to be in a time of turmoil and somebody renews our mind or influences our mind with love, right? Because we can release our attachment and our identification with the body. That's meditation helps cultivate that. And even the body can be in some pretty exaggerated imbalances, and we can still let go identification with it. And it's helpful when somebody beside us is projecting that love rather than affirming our illness and affirming our suffering. So affirm their wholeness. Affirm their wholeness is a beautiful affirmation. Throw that on your affirmation list. I see everybody as whole. I see God in everybody. When I say everybody, I mean all beings, not just people. All of life. I see God in all of life. All right, so I'll close this episode here, friends. Maybe, perhaps, I gave you a different perspective, or maybe it just provided a reminder. But I feel it's a valuable consideration regardless, because it teaches you how to use this power of love a little bit more practically. So I love you. We'll talk soon. If you found any value in this episode, please consider sharing it with your circle. If you're interested in receiving some guidance, you can contact me at aswithinsoul@gmail.com. If you're inspired to offer a donation, you can also use the email aswithinsoul@gmail.com.